I think many organizations have launched many efforts in multiple business units to improve their ability to use information to make sound decisions, and have seen over the years that these individual efforts have produced value, but this value is not what they have expected. And with external pressure from the market, many organizations have got to the point where they realize something needs to happen that is different than the method of operation that they've been following for years.
Well, one of the things I think that's really difficult for companies is there's so many constituents, right? Every business line has its own issues. We're trying to balance strategic and tactical issues. We're trying to balance enterprise perspectives with functional and line of business requirements. And it's actually hard. There's a lot of interesting questions out there to ask. So figuring out what really matters, right? So I always say, interesting or actionable trumps interesting every time. So what we can do is use this idea of a portfolio management approach to look at our corporate strategies and to look at some of our tactical projects and initiatives and ask the questions, right? What questions would I like to be able to ask that would inform that strategy, that would help me streamline or supercharge my operations, or that might stimulate innovation. And what that tells us now is it develops a series of analytic capabilities, right, and sort of a portfolio of applications and solutions that we can look at and start to think about what we need to invest in.
One of the things that we have a talent gap on is not just the people who do analytics, but managers in the business who understand analytics and how to manage with the result of analytics. Many times the analytic result turns out to be something that's contrary to the highest paid person's opinion. And so you need managers who are willing to listen to what the data is telling them, to what their data scientists are telling them, and change the way they manage based on a data-driven approach.
The thinking has to start with the leadership. So I'll give you a really interesting example. At the end of January, Howard Schultz, who's the CEO of Starbucks, announced that he is transferring all of his reporting relationships for the businesses and all the key support functions to the Chief Operating Officer so he can spend 100% of his time on all things digital, including data analytics. So he feels that from a cultural point of view, he has to make that kind of a statement and take that action.
Yeah, I think it starts with a sponsor. Obviously, that discussion is at the top level from the organization perspective, and it needs the backing and the leverage from the executive team to make changes, in many cases some significant changes to the way the organization operates.
I would say you have to focus on talent more than anything else. The human talent to do this type of work is rare and very specialized at this point. So the focus should be on acquiring the right talent to drive that strategic goal. The most important thing is to create an environment where creative people with these analytical skills are going to want to work and to have challenging problems for them that they're passionate about.
So when we are hiring talent, we look for people who have an incredible creative thinking power. That's one of the most important things today, and we see it lacks in the industry. So many times we come across very smart PhDs and very smart Master in Science and most of those master degrees. People are very mathematically advanced, but they lack a little bit of the curiosity. And that's what triggers us to think, how can you actually tackle everything that you've learned, everything that you used, all the tools that you have developed in a very business-sensical way? And that's what I'm looking for when we are hiring.
Well, these highly skilled talent and employees, they really like to apply their knowledge to solve business problems. They derive their satisfaction from the thrill of solving a problem and achieving an objective. So you have to eliminate these obstacles and allow them to apply their knowledge where that knowledge is needed and not ask them to do steps that can be done by somebody else. So you have to get the environment, the infrastructure, and the information ready for them. That's the first step. Second step is that you have to create the culture that motivate and compensate and reward employees at various levels based on the behavior that the organizations expect them to follow.
So I think if you think about iconic companies, right? You think about Amazon, you think about Google, think about Facebook, or even Apple and Microsoft, right? Love them or hate them. When we talk about what makes them successful, culture is always a part of that conversation. And some of the key attributes of an analytic mindset are the willingness to experiment and challenge the status quo, and the will to follow where the data leads. And that can be a significant hurdle for organizations looking to make the turn. The anatomy, if you will, of an analytic enterprise has 3 dimensions. And one is that they foster that analytic mindset and culture. Second, they connect analytics to the corporate mission, and specifically to what makes the company tick. And third, they develop the muscle to execute. And that includes investing in the skills, the tools, and the processes for data-driven decision-making.